Send Help, Sam Raimi's newest film, starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. You want to give a plot synopsis?
Sure. Rachel McAdams plays a character, Linda Little is her name?
Mm-hmm.
Liddle.
Mm-hmm.
Very cute. Linda Little. Fun.
Mm-hmm.
She's sort of like this mousy, sort of keeps to herself. She's in market and research or whatever, or strategic something?
Strategic
planning. She
Yes.
bumps that
Strategic
line
planning.
like 3 times in the movie for sure, and make sure that you.
It's on the movie poster too, Nick. Come on.
Is it? Okay. Well, that shows you how
Yeah.
much I paid attention to the movie posters. But she's basically working underneath Dylan O'Brien's character. His name is Bradley, I believe.
Yes,
Bradley?
it is Bradley. I knew a Bradley once, so it stuck with me.
He has now become the sort of president of this company. He's now the head honcho after his father presumably passed away, that's a cute little cameo of Bruce Campbell in the background, who plays his dad, I guess. He has like a little picture in the office. So he's now in charge of this big company, and they kind of are getting off on the wrong foot or whatever. He's very sort of frat boy CEO, misogynist,
Slimy. He's
slimy,
very,
really into golf. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about him. He appears to not wear any socks with his shoes, which is gross, unless they're the no-show socks. But I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt with that. So they are on a plane headed to a Bangkok merger, but she is kind of dragged along sort of begrudgingly because a position that she was vying for, that she was ostensibly promised by the CEO prior, she didn't get the role. Instead, Dylan O'Brien's character gives it to a guy that's only been there for 6 months. So there's already this sort of feud and sort of antagonistic nature between them. And the plane goes down, and they are the only 2 survivors of the plane crash. And so it is both of them on an island, struggling to survive, looking for help. And you have these characters.
Not struggling. Let's put a little respect on her name. On Linda Little's name.
Okay.
She does immediately have them set up for like food, water, shelter.
Yes.
She's got that locked
But
down.
they're struggling
character.
character, I mean.
Yes.
There's the foil inside
relationship.
The office space continues into the island space, but Linda Little is quick to remind our dear friend Bradley that we're not in the office anymore, and this isn't a normal boss to an employee relationship. This is about survival,
Right.
and like now you're on my turf, so you're going to listen to me. So they kind of flip the story and the character dynamic on its head with this new location. And I will say that at least the biggest takeaway that I have about this movie is that I did enjoy the interplay between Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams. They both clearly looked like they were having a lot of fun, and I liked the dynamic between them when they're kind of like outbesting each other and sort of some of the more slimy maneuvers that Dylan O'Brien's character does on the island later on. It was a fun back and forth, but beyond that, wasn't too crazy about it. But Tina, I know you wanted to say something, so...
Well, I think before we dive into that, because that kind of goes into a little spoiler territory, but I mean, based off of the trailers, based off of the posters, you can see that this is kind of the movie of Bradley's character getting his comeuppance. Sure. Like, it is supposed to feel like this cathartic release for this woman who's been neglected at work and treated horribly at work, even though she is the backbone of the company that is making it run. Yeah. But then I don't, this part doesn't feel like a spoiler in saying that he gets his comeuppance and you are supposed to be rooting for her at the end. It doesn't feel earned, and it doesn't feel as cathartic and freeing as I think the movie wanted it to. And I think that is probably why I left with a bit of a sour taste in my mouth of it fundamentally misunderstood why there was a problem between the 2 of them at work.
Agreed.
I think is the issue.
There's a lot to root for with her. And slowly it feels like as the movie goes on, it introduces aspects of her character that I didn't find necessarily likable. There's a little bit of backstory with a previous ex-husband that she had, and how some of that revelation gets into her character, but it also informs a lot of the decisions that Dylan O'Brien's character later on does as well. And the
Right.
the sort of version of her that she becomes by the third act of it, I wasn't like rooting for her, but I also didn't fully see her as like a villain either. It was just this weird
Right.
kind of middle ground where it's like, yes, you are really good at all this survival stuff and you were taking care of him, but you also are kind of a little messed up in the head in a lot of respects too.
And
So
she murdered
she
also.
did. There is a little bit of murder that happens for sure.
But I feel like the issue with this film is that like it does touch on abuse from both of the
Yes.
characters. But then it also doesn't really understand if it wants to explore how that abuse that they both experience affects how they are treating each other and how they see each other in like their in the work and now outside of it. And I feel like that's one issue with it. But then the other issue with it is that you have these insanely silly moments that are like objectively fun to watch. It is fun to watch Rachel McAdams just fight a boar. Like I loved it. I thought that was a blast. But I think that there was no means of balancing the two sets of emotions that they were going for and the depth. It's hard to be emotionally deep when you also, like I said, have Rachel McAdams flying through the air fighting a boar.
Yeah.
It's just you got to be really on that script to be able to make the two of those things work together.
I think
and feel cohesive.
I think to that end, a lot of what rubbed against me on this was the tonal sort of back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
You have some like dire situations and some like real hard hitting conversations occurring with these characters.
Right.
And then you juxtapose that to this like outlandish boar fight that occurs with the CG boar that looks awful. And moments where she's scaling a mountain with Dylan O'Brien and the rocks give way and it's this prolonged CGI sequence of her hanging on and he has to help. And then that scene is replayed basically beat for beat later on. And I'm like, did somebody patch up that part of the cliff that broke away so that it could break again? Like it felt like it reset.
And what I was saying, and we can mark this as a bit of a spoiler, but what bothered me about another thing that it feels like they didn't understand her character was that you find out that there is a billionaire's or a millionaire's house on the island and that she's going there and she's showering, she's relaxing, she's getting food, all this stuff. And it just feels like it fundamentally undercuts what she is, like the survivalist mentality that we are supposed to have seen her be creating and like want and be thriving in. I think that just feels icky in a way. Like it doesn't feel as much fun as this woman who has felt meek and sheltered for her whole life come into her own because she feels useful in this really tangible way. And I think it's just disappointing to have that be undercut by the fact that she's eating leftover lasagna, which where did leftover lasagna come from in this fridge?
There is a moment in the movie that does feel sort of like the climactic sort of final standoff between these two characters that occurs in the forest, in the woods. They're having a battle against each other. Right. And then there's this like third act reveal or whatever, that there's this mansion side manor here with all the sort of luxuries that you would want to survive. And we get another altercation that happens there as well. And it just feels like that not only undercuts the one that came before it, but it makes you, it undervalues the sort of survivalist mentality that she brings throughout the most of the movie, because now you're thinking back like, oh, she's had all this extra sort of supplies and sort of restoration. And I think I would have liked it more if they didn't have that. And I actually don't think that the movie necessarily needs that. If anything, it just kind of hurts it and it pads out the runtime too long, which I'm a big proponent for movies that are short and don't need to be that long. And this is a movie that doesn't need to be 2 hours long. What business does this have being 2 hours long?
I think it needed to be 90 minutes and I think it needed to pick a tone. I think you either have to have your serious two people who don't like each other, who are at odds with each other, finding some sort of shared common ground on a deserted island by themselves, one of them coming into their own, one of them learning that they are not the person that they thought they were, what have you. Or you have silly office antics now out on a deserted island with the boars and like the fake castration scene and like all this other stuff. That could be a fun, breezy, wild 90 minutes. And I don't think Rachel McAdams has had more fun in the entirety of her life.
Yes.
She was having a blast.
Absolutely. I just like movies like this and Game Night. I love seeing Rachel McAdams just absolutely have a blast. That's just
let loose. It's so fun. And she's so fun. She does it so well. And she nails the emotional scenes too. It just doesn't fundamentally fit within the film itself, but
the CG, and there's a lot of like sort of Sam Raimi-isms in terms of like Evil Dead nature with jump out scares. There's at least 2 to 3 instances where characters or things basically look down the barrel of the camera at the audience. And it's really disarming and odd. And again, we keep talking about this thing about tone, about like riding that line between humor and the severity of the stakes here and the severity of like the character drama between these two. And I just kept getting taken out of it. There's like this one scene where it felt very Evil Dead to me. There's a character that's like crawling on the beach and then stands up and comes towards her. And then there's like a jump scare and the character looks
of like a zombie. And I was like, what is this?
It made no sense. It was silly. No. And if that's like what everyone's talking about in terms of like, Sam Raimi's back, all the Sam Raimi-isms and stuff like that, I was like, I don't know if I quite like that or want that in my movies or movies like this. I don't know, because again, it is right. If it was more like, absolutely, we're just going to do this, and it had that tone from like the beginning, I think then I would be fine with it. But when you're struggling with what you want to be and what you want the audience to feel, I just get this whiplash.
Yeah. It's a bit of an identity crisis, I think, is at the end of the day what stops this from being like a fun sleeper January hit.
Man, that first like 45 minutes, kind of a slog.
That before they get on the island?
Before they get on the island, but even a little bit of like the initial island preamble. It just felt...
And like the fades to black, and I was like, I get it. Time is passing. Yeah. I don't need to be told.
A particularly nasty bit involving Dylan O'Brien and an eye with a character that I thought was... It actually made me recoil in the theater. I don't normally do this, but I was like, oh my goodness. It was gross. Yeah. It made me think of Talk to Me as well with stuff with eyes and shit, but like... some gross moments. I did like
some gross moments, some fun moments.
I liked the over the top puking moment. I thought that was pretty funny and and nasty as well. So I had some fun moments here and there, but I think ultimately, would this be a movie that I recommend? Is this a movie that is like breaking the mold of like January slop? Not really. It's not offensively bad. It just, I think you put a great fine point on it, is that it's just a movie with an identity crisis. It doesn't quite know what it wants to be, and therefore it fails at being either of them. And it's just kind of this weird in between. And therefore I can't quite recommend it, but if the premise sounds interesting to you, if you like Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, and like you do like a lot of Sam Raimi's like over the top sort of zany editing style and sort of sight gags, you're going to get a lot of that. I found the score to be pretty good as well. Danny Elfman, just, serviceable, well done. It kind of helped wrap the movie as well. But walking away from that on my way home, I was just like, no, not for me, I don't think.
Yeah. No, but boy, do I love seeing Rachel McAdams on the big screen. That's all I'll say. That is a thrill. I think she's a great actor who has not gotten her enough credit for everything that she's done. All right, well that's it.
Well, those are our thoughts on Send Help, the new Sam Raimi movie. It's in theaters soon at the time of this recording. It's coming out January 30th, I believe is the actual date. Yeah, January 30th. Yeah. So if you go see it, tell us what you think. Hop in the comments on YouTube or all of our socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, all that jazz. Let us know what you think. If you're listening to us on podcasts, either Apple or Spotify or any of those other platforms, thank you as well. Be sure to leave a 5-star review if you like what you hear. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next review under our sort of like bonus features here on I Think You'll Hate This. So thank you for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one.
See a movie.
Go see a movie.
Go see a movie.